You think you know your town, don't you? The cracked sidewalks, the flickering the small stores that close too early, the friendly smiles of neighbors who wave but never truly look you in the eye. The familiar hum of your hometown wraps around you like a blanket of safety. But safety is an illusion, thin as mist, fragile as glass. Because beneath that illusion, just outside the glow of the porch lights, lie the whispers of things best left unspoken. What if I told you that your hometown, your quiet, familiar streets holds secrets darker than anything Hollywood could ever conjure? That the place you call safe, the streets you've walked 1,000 times, are haunted by legends older than your family name. Every town has them. Every town keeps them hidden, but they're still there, waiting. It always starts innocently. A child hears a story on a playground. A teenager dares another to visit a forbidden house at midnight. A grandmother mutters a warning by the fire, her voice low, as though the walls themselves might be listening. The ordinary veil slips, and suddenly the familiar feels strange. Take Elmwood Creek, for instance. On paper, it's nothing more than a narrow stream running between rusted culverts and tall reeds. But at night, locals whisper about the crying lady. She's been there for decades, they say longer than living memory. Children claim to hear her sobs echoing off the water, hollow and endless, like grief itself made sound. Some tell of seeing a pale figure kneeling in the mud, her dress soaked, her hair matted to her face, calling for a child who never answers. Most people laugh it off. They say it's just the wind through the cattails. But those who linger too long by the creek say otherwise. Some return home, pale, trembling, and silent. Others never return at all. That's how it is with urban legends. They thrive just beneath the skin of normalcy. You can't see them until you're too close. In every town, your town has them. Consider Route 9, an unremarkable stretch of highway with too many potholes and too few streetlights. Drivers know its bends and curves, but they also know the whispers. The phantom hitchhiker. She appears most often on cold, foggy nights. A young woman in a pale dress, stranded by the roadside, her thumb extended, her face hidden by her hair. Good Samaritans pull over, invite her into the car. She thanks them softly, her voice barely audible. She tells them she's heading home, to an address not far off. But before the car arrives, before the driver can even blink, she's gone. Some claim she leaves behind a dampened print on the seat, as though water seeps straight through her. Others say she whispers a single word before vanishing, a word that chills the marrow of the listener. Stay. They say the legend comes from an accident decades ago. A young woman killed on her way to prom, thrown from a car that never stopped. Some say her body was buried in a shallow grave by the roadside, forgotten by all except the highway itself. The details shift, as they always do, but the story never dies. And here's the truth behind these tales. Whether they're born of tragedy, warning, or superstition, they root themselves in memory. The ground you walk is a graveyard of whispers. You just don't see it until someone makes you look. So tell me, what chilling tale haunts your streets? Every town has a place you avoid. An abandoned asylum, its windows shattered, its halls littered with rusted bed, a secluded bridge where the river runs dark and deep, a cemetery where the air feels colder than the night should allow. Locals swear these places aren't empty. They belong to the unseen. Take, for example, an old boarding school in the Midwest, shuttered for nearly 50 years. Locals say lights flicker in its windows at night, long after the electricity was cut. They say shadows move along the corridors, accompanied by the faint sound of chalk scratching on a blackboard. And if you dare to press your ear against the heavy wooden door, you'll hear children's laughter, though. The building has stood empty for generations. Then there are the eyewitness accounts. A man walking his dog late at night who swore he saw figures moving in the windows of a condemned hospital. A group of teenagers who entered an abandoned house on a dare, only to flee minutes later, pale and silent, unwilling to describe what they'd seen in the upstairs mirror. The details blur, but the dread remains. And it lingers, because these legends don't just haunt the place, as they haunt the people. They turn your own mind against you. They whisper, "You're not alone," even when you are, and maybe you aren't. Urban legends don't die, they evolve. Once they were whispered by candlelight, stories told at slumber parties and bonfires. But now, they live online. A TikTok showing proof of a shadow in the school hallway. A Reddit thread where dozens of strangers share eerily similar stories. A blurry YouTube clip of headlights illuminating a figure that vanishes on the highway. The stories adapt, combining folklore with modern paranoia. The old bridge becomes the site of a viral ghost hunting video. The crying lady becomes a TikTok trend. The phantom hitchhiker shows up in dashcam footage circulated across forums. And the question spreads with them. Are these just stories? Or is there something more? Something still there, waiting to be acknowledged? Ask yourself this: why? Do these tales persist? Why, after centuries of progress in science, do we still believe? Maybe because belief doesn't matter. Maybe because they don't need you to believe. They're already here. And that brings us to the final truth. Urban legends are not just old wives' tales. They are not just stories. They are the whispers of your towns. Soul pieces of grief, tragedy, and fear that refuse to die. They live in the cracks of your streets, in the echoes of your woods, in the silence of your basements. Generations pass, but the shadows remain. You may laugh. You may dismiss them as stories meant to scare children. But the next time you walk home in the dark, the next time the wind shifts strangely, the next time you feel the urge to look over your shoulder, remember, your town has secrets, and some of them are watching. So when you turn off the lights tonight, when you close your eyes, when the silence wraps around you, just ask yourself one question. What whispers in your hometown have you chosen not to hear? Because whether you believe them or not, the legends don't care. They've been here longer than you, and they'll be here long after you're gone.